Hi, welcome to Box Office Recap.
Today, I'm going to explain a French horror thriller film called Evolution. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. Nicholas is a sickly young boy living by the sea with his mother. One day while swimming in the sea, Nicholas glimpses what appears to be a dead boy with a red starfish on his belly. Nicholas quickly picks his way across the striking dark rocks of his town's shoreline to report his discovery to his mother. Mom immediately goes diving and brings back the starfish, but she tells him there is no dead body there. At home, Nicholas is given slimy meals for supper, and his mother gives him a dose of medication. Nicholas asks his mother what sickness he is having. His mother explains that all boys on this island require treatments because their bodies will change and weaken as they get older. Later that night, all mothers on the island are seen gathering somewhere. They are going to the shoreline. Then, Nicholas' mother brings back the dead body Nicholas saw before, and the other mothers gather around it. The following day, Nicholas plays with his starfish. After another boy mocks him for being afraid of it, he grows angry and attacks the boy. He later hacks off one of the starfish's arms. After his outburst, his mother takes him to a hospital for regular observation. At the hospital, a doctor injects a yellow liquid into Nicholas' stomach. He is then told to stay one night in the hospital. Nicholas later finds himself in a ward with other boys who have been similarly operated on. They begin to question what sickness they are having. At night, the scene shows nurses who are watching videos of cesarean sections being performed. The following day, Nicholas is released from the hospital. He begins to suspect his mother and the nurses of having lied to him. He visits his friend's house, Victor, and they sneak out in the middle of the night to observe what the mothers are doing. However, on their way, Victor gets scared, so he runs back home. Nicholas continues his way in order to discover the truth. When he arrives, he's very surprised at what he sees. He sees the women lying together completely nude, writhing around in the mud, and passing an object from one to another. He immediately runs back home. A few hours later, at home, he sneaks a peek at his mother as she is showering off the mud. He observes that she has what appears to be suckers on her back. Back at the hospital, Nicholas is given an ultrasound. To his mother's apparent joy, they hear the heartbeat of a fetus. Nicholas is then taken into a room to stay another night in the hospital while waiting for the final surgery. In that room, he meets other children, including his best friend, Victor. Later that night, Victor is operated on. After the operation, a creature is taken out of his stomach and put in a jar. Victor dies during the operation. In the morning, Nicholas asks the nurse about Victor's whereabouts. The nurse lies, and tells Nicholas that Victor is recovering. A nurse brings a conch shell into the ward, saying that Victor has sent it to them. Nicholas's mother visits him, and she brings food for him. However, he refuses to eat what she feeds him. When she becomes upset and begins to look through his sketchbook, he accuses her of not being his mother. They then sedate him and take away his drawing book. In the hospital, Nicholas develops a friendship with one of the nurses, Stella, who seems to have taken a liking to Nicholas. Stella sneaks Nicholas crayons and draws with him. Nicholas' drawings include a dead boy and starfish, but also a bicycle, a car, a building, and a giraffe. Stella then tells him a secret. She shows Nicholas a file with pictures of women with suckers on their backs, including one of a young girl. That night, she takes him down to the sea, shows him the suckers on her back, and allows him to touch them before taking him into the water. However, due to being in the water for too long, Nicholas passes out. Stella immediately revives him using CPR. Nicholas goes back to the hospital. At night, he sneaks into another room, where he finds one of the boys. When Nicholas approaches, the boy lays Nicholas's hand on his own stomach, and he feels movement in the boy's body. After forcing Nicholas to press on his stomach, he begins to vomit. Nicholas runs away in fear and enters a different room. In that room, he sees one of the boys floating in a tank. Not long after, he is caught by a nurse, and he is taken for the final surgery. After the surgery, Nicholas awakens in a tank. He is in restraints and sees what appears to be two babies inside the tank with him. He is shocked to see this, and he faints. Nicholas wakes up and again finds himself by the sea with Stella. They again enter the water, but this time she presses her mouth to his as she swims with him, giving him air to breathe underwater. She pushes him to the surface, and the two end up in a small rowboat floating away from the island. After making sure Nicholas has a drink of fresh water, Stella slips back into the sea, presumably to go back to the island. Nicholas stays on the boat and, by nightfall, finds himself approaching the harbor of a major city. And that's the ending of the movie. Now, for the explanation. The story is happening in a place by the sea where we see a group of humanoids living their lives. This place, as you can see, is only young boys and female adults. No young girls or male adults. As shown later in the movie, the female adults have suckers on their backs, indicating that they are humanoid water-based life forms. They breathe underwater too. These humanoids are the result of the evolution of the starfish. The only way this species can reproduce is asexual, as there are no adult men. It looks like the only way to make babies is by externally creating a zygote and placing them in the bellies of young boys. The bodies of these boys seem to be able to host the fetus up until one point. After that, the fetuses need to be surgically removed and grown externally. Sometimes, if the boy's body is able to survive, they place the boy in a tank where the fetus grows externally in the water while still connected to the boy. As we can see in the movie, Nicholas is being given medication every day. This is to prepare his body to host the fetus. When it is time, he's admitted, and the zygote is injected into him. Other boys on the island are being given the same treatment. We can assume that all those young boys are stolen continuously from cities and taken to this seaside place. In the movie, we can see Nicholas draws not only a dead boy and starfishes, but also a bicycle, a car, a building, and a giraffe. Nicholas is drawing these from memory, as they cannot be found in the village. This suggests that he was kidnapped as a baby and brought there. However, the boys grow remembering very little where they came from. At the beginning of the film, Nicholas saw a dead body. We can assume that he died while trying to escape, and those women chose to keep it a secret. In the film, we also see the women lying together, writhing around in the mud, and passing an object from one to another. This is a kind of birth reproduction ritual. Having a baby among them drives those women into a maternal frenzy, and they produce zygotes, which is then gathered and injected into boys to impregnate them. In another scene, we're shown a glimpse of the humanoids watching a video of a cesarean operation. This is how they have been figuring how to cut the abdomens without hurting the fetuses. It appears that the humanoids usually get the cesarean cut wrong and end up killing the host kid. We can see this happens to Victor, who dies after the operation. However, sometimes they are able to cut just right and transfer the host into the incubation tank. This happens to Nicholas, who survives the operation. Once inside, the fetuses grow pretty quick and the host stays alive, perhaps to be implanted with another zygote afterward. At the end of the movie, Stella, who genuinely loves Nicholas, decides to save him from his misery. She then sneaks Nicholas out and takes him to a boat. This appears to be the way the humanoids travel and enter into human cities to abduct kids. As it becomes night, Nicholas sees that he's approaching the shore of a human city. We can assume that he will be rescued and unite with his original parents. And that's my explanation for the movie. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for